Hi, I want to tell you the story about Veronica. Veronica was a 35-year-old woman who is actually a stay-at-home mum, although she used to be an administrative assistant. But when she had her first child, she decided to stay at home. Her husband, Brian, is an IT consultant. They've got two children, 8 and 10, and in principle, everything's fine. They get on well, they have sufficient money, they live in a house, they have a mortgage, everything's absolutely fine. Except everything is not absolutely fine. Veronica's mum died of breast cancer 2.5 years ago, and she wasn't best served by the system in the sense that they found the cancer relatively late and they weren't able to do anything very productive for her mum, and so she died. Now, Veronica has always been a bit of a worrier, as was her mum, but now she is especially vigilant and really concerned that something bad will happen to her children. So if her children have really a cough, or they have a few spots, or they have something, my stomach doesn't feel very good, I don't want to go to school, they're straight to the doctors. And in fact, Veronica is so concerned about the welfare of her children and her husband, although in fairness her husband's at work a lot of the time, so he's a bit off the radar, that she is, well, she said herself that she often goes to the doctors 30 to 40 times a year, which is a huge number of times to actually bother to go to the doctor. Okay, why does she do this? Well, the fact is she cares a lot about her children, and she's very concerned that something bad does not happen to them through a carelessness, as she sees it, in the same way that something bad happened to her mother. So Veronica is very intolerant. She's very intolerant of any possibility of uncertainty. And so she seeks reassurance for virtually everything. Now, seeking reassurance is one of the main strategies that a lot of people have. In fairness, for health anxiety as well, but in generalized anxiety disorder, it's really common to seek reassurance because you do not trust what you know, because you do not know everything, and so you ask other people, what they think. And typically reassurance lasts, I don't know, maybe a week or so, 5 days, a week, 2 weeks. Reassurance wears off. It's like a dose of some medicine, and it just kind of wears off, and then you need to have reassurance again. Now, interestingly, there's nothing wrong with Veronica's kids, right? But she has become sensitized to what might go wrong, in a sense, right? She's constantly exercising this worry of, but what if there's something wrong that we haven't yet checked out? So now she pushes to have things done because, but what if you missed it? Just like they missed my mother. What if you didn't do the right test? What if we need another blood test? And so she tends to push even harder now to have more invasive and more comprehensive tests. And in fairness, the doctors are a bit sick of her doing this because it's pointless, really. She's starting to subject the children to unnecessary tests. Now, here's the thing. She is very sensitive to what is happening physically to the people that she cares about. She cares about them deeply, and she doesn't want them to die. So it makes sense to her to be really observant. The trouble is, she's hypervigilant, she's over-observant. And in a way, we could almost say that she has become allergic to intolerance. Now, you know how people have a peanut allergy or some other allergy, right? They get a really strong response, really quick. Well, if she thinks there's something remotely wrong, or there could be anything possibly remotely wrong with anybody that she cares about, she has a very strong, almost allergic reaction, in the sense that she feels very, very frightened. And she doesn't know what to do with that fear, and so she seeks reassurance, and that reassurance allays the fear. It makes her feel able to sort of cope a bit better. Okay. Now, her life, what should be comfortable and kind of calm, is actually tumultuous and uncomfortable. She has difficulty sleeping, she has difficulty eating, she loses weight, she's not interested in stuff. She's simply focused on keeping everybody safe. Trouble is, they're not unsafe. It's just that she can't tolerate the slightest possibility that something has been missed, that something might be wrong, and she doesn't know about it. Now, reassurance is one of the big strategies that people who have GAD use to make themselves feel better. But we have a model, and I have it up here on the screen right now. Intolerance of uncertainty creates the need to problem solve in some way. Now, seeking reassurance is a problem solving strategy. But there's another strategy that people use, and I call these control strategies. Control strategies don't affect the problem, but they do give that feeling of control that in the end I call false control. So what people do is, for instance, as a way of reducing uncertainty, they do everything themselves. They question their decisions. They check and recheck everything, and they reread everything. They're overprotective of people they care about. They procrastinate for fear of failure. They avoid commitment, and they create fantasy reasons not to do the things that they need to do. Now, these are all maladaptive control strategies because they don't actually solve the problem, they just give this feeling of a little bit of additional control. The other thing people do to manage intolerance of uncertainty, of course, is cognitive avoidance. And we'll talk about cognitive avoidance in a different video. So Veronica is an example of someone whose life has gone in a path they would not have intended. And I have to say, it's a path that is deviating from happiness and satisfaction and quality of life. It's a path which will continue in this direction because unless she does something different, nothing different will change. Which is why I got Veronica onto using the Anxiety Wizard self-help CBT program, because without doing something substantive, nothing is going to change because her fear and her need to be overprotective of the children is so strong.